Alright guys, hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'll be doing a video, and this video is 5 things that I think, that personally in my opinion, that I think Nigerian parents should leave in 2019. Like, don't bring this to 2020 with us. And not just like don't bring it into 2020, but like let's just get rid of it altogether. These things that I'm going to be mentioning should be canceled. Like, these are things that we don't need to do anymore. That, it's just, no, let's not do this anymore. So if you see me looking down, it's only because I wrote my notes down. So please bear with me. But the first thing that I want to mention or talk about, when it comes to things that, and let me just put like a brief disclaimer. So this doesn't really, I'm not going to say that all Nigerians do this. It's only some. Like, not every Nigerian parents actually do some of the things that I'm going to mention. It's only like some of them. And the ones that the ones that do it, they know themselves. And also, these things that I'm going to list, they might not only pertain to just Nigerians. It might be other people in other countries and other places, whatever the case may be. But I'm just speaking from what I've observed. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to mention is Nigerian parents should stop forcing their kids to study a certain course. Like, this might be most of the things I'm going to say might be very controversial, but I think that we should kind of talk about it. Because everyone knows that, if you're a Nigerian, your parents expect you to study, like, I think 4 valid courses. Either become an engineer, become a doctor, a lawyer. What else? Engineer, lawyer, doctor. I can't really think of, I don't know if there's another one, but like, it's either you're in the health field, doctor, pharmacy, whatever the case may be. You're an engineer, you're a lawyer. And I think those are like the main ones that are recognized. I think, in my opinion, I think that most of those occupations fall within one of those categories. And the reason being is that, all Nigerian parents, to be honest with you, they want the best for their kids. And they want their kids to do really, really well and be very financially stable and everything like that, which I think is great, and which I think, it's good on their part, considering everything that they have to go through, the things that they sacrifice for us, like coming to a different country, or like maybe even if they haven't even left the country, or whatever the case may be. Like, it's just like you would want the best for your children, right? Yeah, so I understand exactly where they're coming from when they say study X, Y, and Z courses. And that's completely, understandable, like I've said. But I think, my personal opinion again, that you shouldn't kind of limit your kids' ability with those courses, with those courses. The reason being is that, like, let's just say, for example, like, what if your child was gonna be like the best producer, the best music producer, and even end up making way more money than they would have being a doctor, being a lawyer, or whatever the case may be. So there's several different other occupations or things that there's several different occupations and things that we can do as people to better secure our future. Because at the end of the day, when our parents are making these decisions, they're trying to make the best decisions for us in terms of like financial aspect, just being financially stable and everything like that. But one thing you learn with life is that sometimes money isn't everything. Like, there'll be times where, like, because nowadays, like, people have to work every single day, regardless of if you want to or not. And sometimes money alone can't sustain you. Like, you would need to actually like the job in order for you to be able to sustain yourself, because you might find yourself in a situation where, like, you're either getting fired because, you can't, like, keep up with, like, the people, or, like, the time, or, like, it's just not fitting in with your lifestyle, the lifestyle that you really want, or whatever the case may be. So little stuff like that. And then it ended up backfiring in the future, because you ended up focusing on something that, you only wanted money from, as opposed to something that would sustain the quality of your life. In the long run, it could lead to a lot of like lack of satisfaction with, you know, the quality of your life. Like, so there's a lot of people that, like, you know, they're doctors and they generally love being a doctor. That's great. There's some Nigerian kids that are going to grow on and become a doctor and love it. There's some Nigerian kids that are going to go on and become a nurse and love it. There's some Nigerian kids that are going to go on and become a lawyer and love it. There's some Nigerian kids that are going to go on and become an engineer and love it. So the list goes on and on and on. But, you know, if it's not working, like, don't force them to do it. Like, it's just not working. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, they can end up making even way more money, or not even about money, like, because sometimes it's your quality of life, like your mental health and everything else has to be included, because you don't have to be in a job where you're making like 6 figures and you're crazy. And do you get what I mean? Like, yeah, you're going to the hospital, in and out of the hospital, whatever the case may be. Yeah. So that's another thing that I was going to say. Stop forcing your kids to study like a certain course for security reasons, because in essence, like, even like the term job security is kind of like is an illusion. There's no such thing as job security. There are lots of doctors that have lost their licenses. There are lots of people who like wake up one day and they're just like, you know, I quit my job, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. Or like you get fired. Like, how many people are actually doctors and work for and own their own practices? How many lawyers actually own their own practices? How many and the list could go on and on. How many engineers actually own their own job? So you can end up losing your job based on, like, you know, whatever case. Like, there's no such thing as job security. Like, that's just all an illusion. So if you want to hear more about that, just let me know. But yeah, some people might agree with this, some people might disagree. But yeah, I feel like this is just my opinion, my personal opinion once again. So I feel like, you know, everyone has I feel like in terms of choosing a career, everyone has a certain personality or certain skill sets, certain innate skill sets that actually allow them to be better, that actually allow them to be more, how do I put this? I feel like everyone has certain personality traits or natural skill sets that allow them to be better at certain jobs or positions than other people. That's a fact. That's something that you cannot dispute. Like, if you take 2 people, right, one person might be one person might be more skilled at this than that, and that skill, that little skill or personality trait, is always in certain situations are going to give them more of an advantage than other people. So if you really, really want to be successful, like, the best way to choose your career is to take your innate personality and some of your innate natural skill sets and try to match that with an occupation, and then try to maximize your skills, the skills that you already have, and your personality that you already have. Because at the end of the day, like, that's what's really going to sustain you in any workforce. Like, even if you get fired, well, the fact that you already have that personality and you already have that skill set, you can always build something for yourself on your own, and you won't need to be hired or anything like that. That's always going to give you an advantage or an edge compared to other people. And it's going to be hard for them to get rid of you because you're naturally good at it as compared to, like, other people. So the best thing that I would recommend is to always examine yourself. Look at your personality traits. Like, look at the personality traits that always give you an advantage in certain situations, and look at your skill sets that are just like, dang, this thing comes naturally to me. Certain things that comes naturally to some people than it does to other people, and try to use that and align yourself with a career or a career path, and then try to maximize your income or whatever the case you're going from through that. So that's my personal opinion again. Yeah. So the next thing that I'm going to mention on my list is, okay, the next thing that I'm going to mention on my list is, please, Nigerian parents, stop comparing your kids to other people's kids. Like, we get it. Like, we get it. No one has 2 heads. We get it. But stop comparing your kids to other people's kids. The reason being is that you really want, like, your kids to be united. Like, you want, even with other people's kids, like, you want everyone to be able to come together, because it's going to help in terms of, like, you know, if someone is, to help, like, form that tight unity in, how do I explain this? Let me start over. Stop comparing your kids to other people's kids. The reason being is that you really want your kids and other people's kids in the future to be united, to be together. You don't want them to be fighting against each other or you don't want them to, think that one is better than the other, because that's going to cause a lot of division and tension and friction in the future. You really want, when you compare other people's kids, you're pretty much taking like maybe someone's, like I said earlier, natural skill sets or innate personality, and they're comparing it to someone's lack thereof. Does that make sense? So like, let's just, for example, like let's just say, this person got married before this other person, and your parents are kind of like comparing and stuff. Well, you never know, like, if it was my intention, like if it was God's purpose for me to get married at a certain age, and it was God's purpose for them to get married at a certain age. Like, you never really know. You never really know what purpose is on that person's life that put those kind of situations in front. So now if you pressure me to get married and I end up getting married to the wrong person, then what? So now I'm going to, like, inside my mind or inside my spirit, I'm gonna be like, kind of like, not really like remorseful, but like, now I'm holding a grudge against not only you but myself and the other person, like without intentionally sometimes knowing that I am. So little things like that. It's not really good to compare your kids to other kids, because you really want like everyone to be like united in a way and kind of like stand for each other. But when you compare your kids to other people's kids, it kind of brings that division and friction and kind of competition, and it's like you're competing against each other instead of you to kind of be like coming together to help build each other up. Like when one person is down, like, kind of like help, each other come together and like be strong in each person's individual like lane, pretty much. All right. So the next thing that I am going to mention is, the next thing that I was going to say is, like, please, Nigerian parents, Nigerian people, wherever you are from, I know it's not only Nigerians that do this. I think it's, like, pretty much you can find this everywhere. So let me just not, like, make it seem like it's only them that doing it. And even if it's not all Nigerians that actually do these things that I mentioned, it's only, like, some, right? Another thing I was going to mention is stop outcasting people based on like different incidences, like kind of like pushing people out of like a certain circle based on like certain incidences, like just random incidences. Like, let's say, for example, like divorce. Like, divorce is a good one. Oh, it's not in our culture to divorce, this, that, and the third. But like in reality, certain things like you just can't help, or certain things like you don't really have any control over. So instead of like supporting and like supporting and like just lending a helping hand, which a lot of people do, but most of the times, like, you can find that these people are kind of like looked down upon or outcasted in a way, like, oh, don't be like this person or don't do this and stuff like that. So that's something else. And it's not just with divorce. It could be with like remarrying. It could be with like just teen pregnancy, just like random stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, you never really know like what people are going through. Like, you never really know what's been in their past. You never really know, like, you don't really know anyone's condition. So I would say another thing that we need to stop doing is kind of like outcasting people and like, making people feel like they're not part of the community. Yeah. All right. So another thing that I'm going to say as well is, Nigerian parents, Nigerian people, this doesn't only pertain to Nigerian parents, Nigerian people. This could be like people anywhere, from anywhere. And I was gonna say, like, stop being so stiff. Like with like a lot of Nigerian like elders, like you can't really like, and this doesn't go this like this again. I'm gonna keep repeating this because this is really important. This doesn't apply to everyone. This only applies to some people, right? Like, it's like you notice that with certain Nigerian parents or adults, like you notice that you can't really talk about certain things. Yeah, that kind of needs to stop. Like, I don't think that they do it intentionally, because maybe people before them never really talked about certain things. But the reason being is that, like, if you don't talk about certain things, it's like now someone younger is making a decision based on like what they think and what other young people their age think they should be doing, as opposed to getting advice from someone who's more experienced in life and someone who's more more apt to give them like good sound advice. So it's like a lot of like different topics that a lot of just Nigerian people and or parents don't talk about that should be more that they should be more open about. I'll probably like put the list somewhere here. Sometimes it has to do with marriage, like things that go on within marriages, or like things you should know before you get married, or like it could be like with friendships, like certain kinds of friendships, or it could be with like just real problems, like buying a house, or paying like bills, or it's just like certain things that they don't really like talk about, that it would be very helpful for them to give us more information about, in order to keep us from making like like stupid mistakes, or like I don't know, like you guys get what I'm trying to say. Like there's just certain things that they just don't talk about that they should be more. It's like they feel like ashamed to talk about it, or they feel like, oh, it's none of your business, or they feel like it's like little things that they should talk about, but in reality, but they don't talk about. So you end up finding about it, and you're just like, dang, why didn't anyone tell me? How come we don't talk about things like that? Or whether it comes to like, it could be like with childbirth, or like things like that. Just just like random stuff like that. So the last thing that I was gonna talk about or mention is being more open-minded. A lot of Nigerian parents, Nigerian people need to learn how to be more open-minded. The reason being is that like it's gonna be hard for a lot of problems to be solved if people aren't open-minded. Like let's say, for example, like no one would have ever expected that we were going to need an airplane. Like, can you imagine like the two people, like, can you imagine like someone saying, oh, we want to build this machine that's going to like fly in the air, so it's going to transport people through air. And can you imagine like other people like being like, oh, that sounds like that's interesting, or whatever the case may be. But like, just imagine like if you're a Nigerian person's child, and you went to your parents and you told your parents, or you told your Nigerian people, that you were going to try to build a machine that was going to transport people through air. What do you think they would have thought? That you were crazy and you need to go out and read your books. That's what they would have thought. So, but in reality, most of these ideas and most of these inventions help to solve world problems and help to bring solutions to people who don't have problems. Like in Nigeria as a whole, there are a lot of problems. Not in Nigeria alone, there are a lot of problems. In other African countries, there are a lot of problems. In the world, there are a lot of problems, and these problems need solutions. And the people that are in the world, the people that are walking around the world, have solutions to these problems. But most of the times, they don't feel comfortable, like venturing out to figure them out, because they're going to be outcasted, or they're going to be looked upon as crazy, or whatever the case may be, because there isn't that environment where you're allowed to be open-minded about different ideas and different topics. Because most of the times, like the solutions to these problems, you haven't heard of it. Example, Facebook kind of like reinvented another way for people to kind of socialize, and now it's like you can pretty much talk to anyone from any part of the country for free. So like same with WhatsApp, like you get to talk to people, like make calls and all that stuff, all from all over the country for free. But you've forgotten the aspect of like someone actually taking their time out, someone actually dropping out of Harvard to actually sit somewhere and actually put all these things together, like hold everything and put it together for it to actually become something that you guys can use for free. Another example was Microsoft. Microsoft like changed the way we obviously use computers, interact with each other, turn in assignments, whatever the case may be. But everyone forgets the aspect of like the person actually dropping out of college, like Harvard, to actually sit in a room or rent like an apartment with like 6 to 8 other people to kind of like work on these things for hours and days and years for it to become what it is. The solution to these problems, you've never heard of it. So in order to increase the amount of problems that are being solved in Nigeria, in African countries, and in the world, we as Nigerian people, as Nigerian parents, and as a Nigerian community, community and people of other, you know, of other demographics should be more open-minded to allow these ideas to kind of like flourish in terms of, to be more open to allow these ideas to kind of flourish in terms of like the courses that people choose to take, in terms of like the lifestyle that people choose to live, and be less judgmental about like, oh, this isn't going to end up in the place that this person's child is in, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with some of the things that were said, but I would love to hear you guys' opinions about the things that were mentioned. I felt like I feel like there are other things that I didn't mention as well, but these are the things that I could remember. These were the things that I could remember for now. So maybe I'll make a part 2, maybe not, but these are some things that we need to work on. And these are also my personal opinions. So you're free to agree, you're free to disagree. If you do agree, let me know why you agree and what you think. If you do disagree, let me know why you disagree and what you think. I'm open to hearing like what you guys have to say. And if you have anything else that you feel like I didn't mention or I didn't touch on enough, definitely feel free to put out more information about that in the description box below. Yep. Until next time, see you guys later. Bye.